Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sellik the Thunder podcast, episode number 53 now, and as always, I'll ask is any famous 53s, and well, we won't use the term famous, but any 53s that come to mind for Celtic over the past few years? Any at all?
Was Henderson the one?
Yes, Henderson was one. Liam Henderson was indeed a 53. There was two other ones. One very recent, he left the club not too long ago. Featured against Hibs that night. We had to play the Dubai-riddled squad. Striker ended up leaving. Cameron Harper is correct. And finally, the last 53. He's quite famous nowadays. Podcast host.
Oh, Cy
Ferry. There's your free. That's your free there at number 53. A positive note to start off the podcast as we get into all the negatives as we record directly after Celtic losing to Bodo Glimt, but we'll get into all of that in a moment. Thank you to G4 Claims for having us once more in the studio. If you have any faults, any claims to do with your car, make sure to check them out. The link will be in the description. I'm joined today by the two people who've been on the last couple of shows with me. Callum, Craig, I'll start with you. You stepped in last minute to replace McGinley today. Callum, how are you doing?
Not too bad. I mean, I could be doing my bed after working this morning and such, but you just got on with it, didn't you?
McGinley will be watching this back. You seen what you're doing to this man? You're keeping him out of a kip, yeah? He can be burrito mode right now, but he's not. And Kieran Auld, you're over there on the left-hand side. I found it funny the other day, me and Kieran, I don't know if you've seen this, Cam, we were captured in the background of a Celtic Foundation photo. They took a wee selfie at the game, and me and Kieran were in the background of the photo. Kieran, you looked at chuffed in that photo, mate.
I know, I wish they gave me a bit of warning, man.
If you've not seen the photo, check out our Twitter. But tonight, are you feeling similar to how you looked in that photo?
I'm fucking shattered, man.
Listen, I remember we used to record mostly at morning times, and I would just get complaints about, it's too early for this pish. So I changed it to nighttime recordings, and now it's too late for this pish.
Never heard of an afternoon, Ryan.
It doesn't help though when you're working.
Oh, sorry for being employed.
Like uni's on, college's on, etc, etc. Listen, we'll have the summer for that. We'll have the summer for fucking afternoon recordings. But we're back today. And obviously it's not in the best mood. I deliberately held off this week to make it a post-match reaction rather than a pre-match podcast, because the last podcast us three sat together and we spoke about our chances against Bodo Glimt and hopefully how it could have been a tie that we head through in. And we sit here after both legs have been played now with a humbling experience as we lose 5-1 on aggregate. Kieran, there's so much to talk about tonight's game. There's so much to talk about last week's game, which we're just going to bypass. But altogether, how disappointed are you with the result of the tie?
I mean, it's just horrific. I mean, it's fair fucks to them. They're a good team.
Yep.
You can't dispute that. But realistically, we should have been at least getting a much better goal than what we did. 5-1 on aggregate is just embarrassing, regardless of who you're playing. But for a team, it just annoys me the fact that I think it's like 3 or 4 teams now that we've played that have put us out with Zenit, Copenhagen, Bodo. They've all put us out. All of them have came back after not playing for like 2 months, and every time we looked like the team that won the
money on
playing.
the
we had a 2-month break. I just don't know how it can just the levels just drop so much as soon as it goes into Europe. I don't know if it's just a mental thing or something. I don't know what actually goes on at Celtic, because that's season after season now.
It transcends over different managers.
Like, you think it's something like, I remember before the first tie, I was saying how you need to be cautious because in the past things like that, and you've got people saying rightfully so, it shouldn't matter. You're going in with a new manager, a completely different team. It shouldn't, but it just seems it's classic Celtic in Europe. But
Callum, Kieran used the term there, the levels dropped, and we've seen, and this is one thing that I think they kept drilling at home today. Chris Sutton in the studio was talking about the progress we've made under Ange Postecoglou, and we can't dismiss that. There's been a fantastic amount of progress under the new manager, but there is a sense of the levels did drop. How different was it today from a normal league game, and even in the past game? Were you surprised with how poor we were over the course of the 2 games?
Definitely. I think also I was still in work when the lineups came out, so I hadn't seen them until probably like half an hour after they came out, and again obviously Twitter had its usual rants about it. So I think for Ed, it's sort of that sort of set the mindset for a lot of fans. I feel as if, right, we'll prioritise the weekend, right, so fair enough. But I think, as I said, that's it was very reflective in that team lineup. I think just for there, I don't think anybody had any confidence.
I think that's one major talking point we have to go over tonight is the starting 11. I think there was a sense of shock amongst most fans on social media anyway, the team that he did field. Kieran straight away, I think everybody said the same thing. It was almost like we admitted defeat with the starting 11.
I know, it's something people raised the point on Twitter, and rightfully so. It's like, this is the first time you've all looked at Ange going into a game no trying to win it, because as much as you can say it's the system he believes in all the players to go out and do a job, anybody with a sound mind looks at that team and knows it's not going to go out and win the game. You can be as hopeful as you want, and I'm sure everybody was hopeful that somehow it was going to turn out alright, but when you look at that team and just the way we started that game, never got a shot, not even just a shot on target, a shot at all, and it was on target, but 39 minutes. That was their first attempt at goal.
And by 35 minutes, they had 10 chances.
Because I remember it flashing up in the corner, 10-0, and then it happened, and it wasn't good enough at all, man. It just, nothing was lighting up. Things weren't going away, fair enough, but when you've got individual performances, like I'm sure we'll come on to these performances, but Neil Beaton, who is just frustrating in terms of he can have a really good game one week, and then the next, he's lost on the pitch, and I'm not saying he himself cost us the game, but when you've got somebody in the middle that's meant to be controlling the game, and he was just absolutely hopeless, but I'm sure we'll go into that in a lot more depth.
Yeah, we will. Callum, you said about prioritising the game at the weekend. What is your opinion on that? I don't know if you said or what you meant when you said rightly so. Do you think he was right to maybe prioritise that game? I think it's a weird one for the manager, definitely, but in terms of fans, let's just talk about it in general. There's been a lot of debate as to whether, I think it's hard to pin a number on who's on what side, who thinks that the league should have been prioritising Sunday and who wanted to go for it tonight. If you were to put yourself in the situation, are you disappointed or understanding towards it? Me personally, I'm disappointed, but I guess that's what the podcast is for, isn't it?
And you also, I'm annoyed the fact that the team lined up, because it was very B team essentially. It wasn't if you'd like frequent starters in there. It felt, I think, even if he did that sort of that bit of a mix, then fair enough. But it did feel as if he was just very mindset towards Sunday, and he's just not really give it tonight much of that second thought. He just thought, I'll pick 11 players, put them at the park and see what they do.
See, I'm all for the idea that to prioritise the league, right, but there's got to be a bit of leeway here, because you want to prioritise for the game on Sunday, but the amount of pressure that's now been heaped onto Sunday is ridiculous, because if you've fielded a B team to rest players like Jota and Juranovic and all these, like Carter Vickers, they all need to have stellar performances on Sunday, otherwise it's all been for nothing. And see, it's the wider debate, but about obviously the league's always the priority, especially in a season like this where we're in a rebuild trying to get back. Obviously the league's the priority, but you can say that the league's the priority and no go out and get embarrassed in Europe. Like, there's got to be, like, it shouldn't be one or the other. It should be, I prioritise the league, but you need to be good enough to try and get a decent performance in Europe. Like, you can't excuse it year after year.
And too many people are using it as an excuse.
It was different when we were in a period of dominance, winning the league every season. Then everybody was saying, the league's bread and butter. Obviously, the league's the bread and butter. Yep. But for years, we excused poor European performances, no building in Europe, regressing in Europe. And in this season, I feel like we have been getting a wee bit of a free hit, but it still hurts. Like, it's embarrassing to go out and lose like the way we have. Yeah,
there's 2 points I want to bring up on that you've mentioned there, Kieran. We're using the phrase B team now. I've seen a lot of opinions on social media. I think I'm very much refusing. I think it was a second fiddle side that we kind of put out there, but there is a lot of people maybe giving a justification that, well, hold on, we still had Hart, we still had Ralston, who's been in the team a lot this season, we still had Starfelt, we still had O'Reilly, Rogic. But I think that people are taking out of context what it means to field a second fit, because this is the thing for me. It's not just about changing names, it's about the approach you take to a game, and how I think we went into it just showing that there was not an underestimation, because we had an estimation of them last week, but there was just a sort of a lack of importance placed in the game, and I think that's what's more telling rather than the names themselves. It's putting it all together and then fielding that side that makes me go, well, this is second fiddle, because if we really wanted it, we wouldn't be doing that. That's more the issue for me. The second thing I want to bring up from that is, do you know what annoys me? And this is, I don't do this lightly, and it really annoys me to do this, because I absolutely adore him, 100% back him, I love him. What a manager Ange Postecoglou is. He's been fantastic. But the one thing that annoys me is the fact that it was only like a week and a half ago that he was sitting there and he was saying, I'm in every competition to win it. if you're in every competition to win it, surely you play your best team.
I mean, you can defend that or you want, like, fielding that team is it's just admitting defeat before a ball's being kicked. I know as much faith as he can have in his players throughout the full squad, even he knows that wasn't going to be the team that goes to like turn that tie around. And it's not even as if like you can say, oh, he's changed it up, try to freshen it up. He still started with Rogic and O'Reilly, which very clearly didn't work last week. So it's annoying to see, as you said. It's no like it's not a slight on Ange Postecoglou, because as you said, he's been brilliant for us. You can't, nobody's turning against him, but you're allowed to point out mistakes in that.
Yep. I know, it's, no one's immune from criticism. The whole point in football, the whole point in anything is to have an opinion. And we'll come on to opinions, because there's a lot of opinions to talk about, whether you agree with them or not. Let's try and talk about the football itself in the park tonight, because the team selection is a whole thing in itself. Callum, from the fucking first ball that was kicked tonight, we just looked so unsure. We looked messy. Defensively, we looked all over the place. How would you assess the first half?
I mean, I think I'd probably put it in par with the way some of the football we used to play at fives. It was genuine, it was shambolic, it was just so...
I mean, that's poor for Celtic, because I can barely run, never mind anything else.
It was just so like lackadaisical, so like half-arsed. It didn't seem as if ended that bit of urgency. Also at half-time, we see that when McGregor comes in, he always tries to bring that into the team, but just nobody had that oomph about them, especially when you're chasing a result as it is. You need that to stay in the game. And also they got the park as calm as you like. The boy runs probably 20-30 yards with the ball and then lays it off just for their first goal. Why he was allowed that much time the ball in the first place is baffling. Like, on the fact that there was several times I felt tonight we just let players have the ball and just let them run at us. It would just keep tracking and then take the ball and try and play them on the counter. But we weren't going to meet the ball to then play it on the counter. That's so annoying to watch. I
thought what you say is absolutely spot on about the back line and how they kind of tracked off players, and they were giving them so much time and space. I think you see that with the first goal. It gets so much time to decide what he's doing.
Of the night, but we actually just sat after them and let them pass it about. Like, obviously you respect your opponents, but that was ridiculous. The
back line for me, both defensively and offensively, was just so you're right there, son. What's happening?
I fucked my thumb at work, man. It's sore. it's stinging like a bastard.
But even offensively, when I was trying to watch them play out from the back, they had no clue what they were doing, man. It was like, they were passing it, like Hart would give it to Ralston would look around, he'd give it back to Hart, he'd do the same with Scales. I thought that they just looked so sloppy with everything that they'd done. And that first half, playing out from the back and their defensive work as well, there was just such an uncertainty on everything that they'd done. I don't know what you thought, Kieran, but really slack, really poor. The word I use is lost.
I feel there's too many players out there that looked lost. There was no rhythm to the play. There was as Cam said, when McGregor came on, he injected that energy about the team, but in that first half it was non-existent. You've got the other point I would like to raise is the whole Maeda thing, because
I thought you were going to save it, but on you go.
No, but it's just about this, because in the first half you see he's trying to make runs, but see when people are hesitating to make the pass and then they finally make it when it's far too late and he's offside. Like, he was making runs tonight. You've got people saying he's running about like a headless chicken, but that's fucking far more than what Hoffenheim were doing tonight.
Aye.
The rest of them were stonning after them, giving them the freedom of the pitch to just roam about and do what they want. We made them look like superstars. And that, as I said, that's just the story of Celtic in Europe, just making teams that rightfully they're good, they deserve to beat us and go through, but we just make them look so good. Like, they're a good team, but it wouldn't surprise me if they went and got knocked out in the next round, because we make them look like world beaters and then
masters of their own downfall.
But the whole Maeda point, it's everybody's like, I don't know if he's becoming the new sort of Starfelt here, where people writing him off straight away, and like his goal return's alright. I mean, fair enough, the performances might not have been there, but Jesus Christ, the guy's half back a full season in Japan, top goal scorer there, and people are writing him off after 2 months.
Yep, but he barely had a break as well. Just to add
it's just infuriating, man. Like, fair enough, everybody's allowed their opinion, but to go after a guy like that is just so soon into his Celtic career. Like, you've seen not abuse, like the level of stick that Yakimakis has taken that, and he started to come good and people are on board with him now. He just needs time. I reckon next season, the most ridiculous takes I've seen is people going, I wish we weren't signing them after the deal.
That pisses me off. It does feel like, I know the word agenda's thrown about, and I've thrown that about on Twitter tonight as well, and I know some people don't agree that there's agendas there and that, but I think it's so easy for people to actually form one against certain players.
The point we've made in this podcast before is, as a fan base, we stick with first impressions.
Yep.
But which is ridiculous because Maeda's first impression was scoring a goal against Hibs, wasn't it?
That's right, aye, on his debut.
I really don't get it, man. Like, players just need time to settle on that. You've seen that with a few players this season, so it's annoying to see, but I don't know, it's an emotional thing, football. Everybody's got knee-jerk reactions. We're all prone to it, but it's just I don't know if it's just because people have got Twitter and then they just fire their opinions on there straight away, and then it starts to gather traction, and then people start adopting that sort of mindset. But everybody thinks it, everybody says it, but it's just, I feel like a lot of people take it and run with it and just don't stop. Regardless of, like, I think he'll come good.
No,
I think he's been bad, to be honest. Like, I thought he was one of our better performers tonight.
Yeah, listen, it would have been hard to be one of the better performers tonight, I think, but I think you're right in saying that, and I think that people have been so harsh, and once again, I still feel it comes down to comparisons with Kyogo and how he's came in and set the world alight.
I feel that's, if people don't come in and start scoring a goal every game up front, it's just
do you think that there is an aspect of some people being, and I know we brought this has come full circle, hasn't it? This has actually come full circle, but do you think that because we are playing well again, we are top of the league again, you're getting an aspect of the support that maybe are just expectations are the highest for every single game, every single player?
See, obviously you want to have high expectations, but realistically, I know everybody's going to have a 10 out of 10 every week. Like, we've got a bigger squad now. We can afford to rotate, and maybe not in games last. We're not talking about stuff like that, but you've got players there. I'm just thinking, it's just annoying, man. Like, I reckon we've not got, how many games we've got left this season?
11 in the league.
Like, I think he's got time I don't like using the term turn it around, because I don't think he's
nothing to do with turning around. I don't think he's done that bad.
I don't know if my mind's been polluted by this agenda being pushed on Twitter here that's making me mince my words, but I don't know, I just feel it's a bit quick to start labelling people as a dud.
Yeah, I'd agree. So much to talk about in that front. I was going to bring it up later, but it's good we've touched on it. Callum, to kind of round off everything about the first half, as little as we probably want to talk about it, there was parts of me thinking tonight, thank God Hart turned up, because there could have been 2, 3.
By the way, but before we get into that, the tie was lost. Any hope was shredded as soon as I seen it. I was like, is he wearing a zipper under his hat?
I will not have any of this Joe Hart slander, right?
Forgot to pack his underarm.
He's a fashionista.
I seen O'Reilly was the one that was sporting the short sleeves tonight.
A few did. Ralston, Forrest, fuck's sake.
I wasn't expecting O'Reilly, but that was a surprise.
It was a surprise. His skin was bright red, man. He was freezing.
Because Joe Hart goes for the short sleeves all the time, I thought, I surely won't change it for this game. Jake it.
Look, do you know? I'll be honest. I was scared in case it like affected his mobility or anything. Like, I know what it's like to try and play in goals with a jacket on. It's no fun. Like, it feels like adds weight on you know. But Cam, if it wasn't for Hart tonight, you know, there could have been. We were giving away chances for fun. We just got split open so easily. And last week, I touched on my channel how I thought the midfield cost us the game because they just carved us open in there. And it was like we never learned from our mistakes. We talked about, and we'll come on to talk about it in depth. We talked about Beaton coming on and hopefully maybe changing that. But tonight, we didn't learn any lessons, and Hart done us a favour a few times.
No, definitely. I think the one save sort of the first half that comes to mind is the one like the boy sort of just like cuts inside, just hits it straight when he's come out, made himself big. That's one fear that we can have again. Obviously, I know out of Europe and such, whatever, but I just think we can have that mindset of, well, it's alright, we've got Hart there to save us. So I've seen it at times, obviously, he can concede, his distribution isn't the best, his feet and such. It doesn't obviously nearly cost us a penalty earlier, but I think it's just, I think again, as you've touched on with the midfield, it was far too easy again for them to just play it 1, 2, 3, like a wee triangle basically. And again, they were in playing it to their forward players. It's like, that's the level of stuff you expect for 2012 Barca, for example. The way they knock a ball about with fucking ease.
It's how little when we were pressing them in the first half, there was nothing. Like in the second half, you noticed that even then, when we were playing the high press, they were still playing it out in the border. Like, maybe there was a wee 5-10 minute period where we actually looked like we were maybe getting into the game, but it just faded so quickly. But I take it we're going on to the second goal in the second half now.
Well, yeah, if you want to come on to that, we can.
Because it's just we got dragged so wide for it. You could see it coming a mile away, and then Beaton doesn't track his runner.
Yes, I've got right down here. So for the 2-0, I have wrote down Beaton beyond woeful. That was my words for
It's
the
when
second
you see
goal.
the second, like the replay. and it shows you the other angle. And I never knew who was at fault at first, and I was like, oh,
I think the whole, even Ralston for me was
I know,
he was standing in fucking no man's land. I'm like, what are you doing? He's just standing there doing nothing, and he's staring into space. And there was so many criticisms in terms of the defence for that second goal. It was not good enough. You know, it's really poor standard.
Just too many people never turned up. I hate to pile the hingy onto Vita on that, but I mean, it's obviously the ones that everybody could see for a mile away never turned up tonight. But I'm guessing you've got the other one that's came into.
Oh well, would you like to introduce that point?
A certain Liam Scales.
He was a bit poor, wasn't he?
See, I don't. It's not one of the ones I feel like he's been poor every time he's played this season. He had a bit of a dodgy game against Dundee United.
Yeah, but is that the game he got the goal as well?
Nah, he got a goal against.
Was that not
Wraith Rovers? No.
He scored against Dundee United as well. Didn't he outside the box 3-0?
I know. I'm talking about Dundee United.
Oh, sorry.
I know there's been a couple of shaky moments, but I mean, I think it just cements that at left back, people are saying, "Is it Greg Taylor's at Scales?" As much as we want to kid ourselves this season, I think Andrew Ben for a left back.
No,
in the summer.
It's got to be surely.
Because when you're in a situation where nobody's really happy with either left back, I'd go with Taylor at the moment. But even then, I've never been Greg Taylor's biggest fan. But at the current moment, I think it's got to be Greg Taylor. And then, that's another thing with Scales. But it's like, when he put in a decent performance, he's a world beater. Then when he's put in a shite performance, he's like, oh, fucking sign of the Shamrock Rovers, underhand dealings with Dermot Desmond. So I don't know, it's just try to find the middle ground to be logical and no overly criticising that, but it just looked lost tonight.
Your thoughts on Scalesy?
Pish. Simply pish. I mean, you don't want to be harsh on the boy, but I mean, it was you could tell it was a very inexperienced performance, I felt. Said even like as Kieran touched on, even if you want to have Greg Taylor there, you don't get much different. I don't feel, especially for the way his performances have dipped. Like I think, as we said, like you said, if he has one good performance, oh, it's brilliant, he's cracking. But then he's up pushing people at Tynecast. Oh, good on you, wee man. But then straight away, he has one bad performance and he's back to shite.
We're cursed with the impossible task of replacing Kieran Tierney.
Aye.
Yep, the boys off to Barcelona.
I know everybody's not going to live up to that, but there's got to be somebody that steps up, because what is it, ball and goalie, Laxalt, who else?
I'm trying to go through them.
Scales, Taylor. I'm trying to go through who's been.
It was well. Taylor came in, and then who else? But Johnny Hayes. He was at left back for a bit as well.
So I don't know. It's just you're not guaranteed to have a player like Kieran Tierney in your mids, but I feel like a lot of people are wanting somebody that can be consistent and you're not going to please everybody, but I feel like to get a player that's quite like you've got Juranovic at right back. Everybody's pretty happy with that.
Yep.
We just need a bit of solidity at the left back, somebody to come in, cement that position as their own. They know there's too much changing about. I know Scales hasn't had that many appearances, but even Greg Taylor, as you said, his form's been in and out this season. I want Greg Taylor to be a success. He's got the new long-term deal, so hopefully he comes good. Hopefully Scales comes good as well, but I think it did just come down to inexperience tonight.
See, the thing for me about Scales, and this is I made this point in the group chat, a couple of group chats tonight about Scales. The thing for me about him is, there's clear people have been calling out all the time, oh, Taylor's shite, why do we not give Scales a chance? I think tonight proves why Scales doesn't get the chances. For me, it's clear that maybe in the training ground he's shown he's not quite the level yet that we need him to be. I don't want to say he's not good enough, because he's chipped into a couple of goals. He's scored more goals in the league this season than fucking Ryan Kent, for fuck's sake. You know, he's done bits when he's had to, but I think there obviously is something there that the manager knows that, okay, this is when we use him, this is when we don't use him. There's obviously something there, I think.
See, the left back debate will rage on until the end of the season. Hopefully Taylor sees tonight, takes his chance and can get a bit of consistent form, because we're right into the business end of the season now, so everybody needs to be playing at the top of their game. There's no room for passengers, so hopefully he can find his form again and see us out the rest of the season, because we need this steady starting 11 for now until the end of the season.
Right, in terms of the rest of the game, I think we've touched on second half. I looked a little bit better. Maida had that big chance blasted over the bar. I think that was just a summary of the frustration that we were feeling. Callum, I come to you in terms of, you know, who do you think I don't know, I don't even go to ask that, because I don't want to pin the blame on one individual. We were really, really poor tonight. Is there anything in general that you want to throw in about tonight's game?
Yeah, I think the only positive is we're back to fucking Wednesday, Saturday fixtures now.
No,
Just
I
to
can get
over
behind that.
I think that's the only positive I'm really taking for that is the fact we can scrap these Sunday games. There's nothing worse than sitting on a Sunday.
Fucking horrid.
Sunday
Unless
3
it's like an
o'clock
away
at
game,
home.
an away
I know.
game. or
That's a
whatever.
bit different.
Sunday
but
3 o'clock at Sellik Park, man. Quite brutal.
Horrid, especially when myself, for example, has work at 6 on a Sunday.
It's on a
It's just-
Saturday, but you can go out after the game. I mean, you can go
Exactly.
to Sunday if you want, but no, I'm not a madman.
But I agree with you, Calvin, on that front. I think, there's probably a lot we can say about Near Beaton tonight as well. He was really, really poor. A lot of people questioning his reliability again. It is just one of those.
It is reactionary because, I mean, I've came on here and I've slated Beaton for the night, and he deserves criticism for the night, but it's just, I feel like even myself, I need to be a bit more reserved, and because 1 week we're on here saying he's absolute strolling it in games and all that. I feel like it's just reactionary, isn't it? We're all prone to it.
It's about recovery now. And we'll come on to talk about recovery soon because we're going to preview the Hibs game. We're going to talk about that and talk about the reaction that we're going to need. However, this is a point I want to come on to now. How do we get over this hurdle in Europe? Where do we go now? Because this is 2004. This is the best part of 20 years coming up that we have struggled in knockout games. Doing these Europa League knockouts and getting beat, Champions League getting beat, now Conference League getting beat. Is there a viable way that we can look at this and go, this is how we get over it?
I don't think there's a magic fix, to be honest. As much as we'd love there to be, I can't see it because every year we seem to think we've got this brilliant team and then we get humbled. Like, for years we could sort of use the excuse that we were in the Champions League and we were always getting tough draws in the last 16 when we made it through, and even in Europa League, but when we got into Milan and such. But the past 2 times we've had Copenhagen and Bodo Glimt, and obviously they're good teams, they've put us out, they've deserved to go through, we've been awful, but gone into the games, it's games you should be winning, and you don't deserve to be in the competition at these latter stages if you can't beat teams like that. So I feel like we as a fan base believe that we should be gone further than that. We've got these ambitions because of successes of the past, but as you said, it's a better part of 20 years ago.
Yep.
18 years since we won a knockout game of football. Was it Barcelona in 2004?
Sad, I think so.
sure it was,
It's shocking.
Regression at its finest form.
And I understand we can use it because European football's moved on since then, but it's no stopping teams like Copenhagen and Bodo Glimt getting into further stages than Celtic has. It didn't have been better run, and I don't know. It's something people that far smarter than me will need to figure out, because I don't have a clue. As much as I'd like to sit here and say this is my idea how you fix it, we go into the summer. I feel like you could even maybe say try to get teams ready for going into the qualifiers and that in the summer, but say we were to go and win and get into the Champions League group stages, I would have money to spend, but would you have confidence that this team who's struggled in the past however many years is going to go out and not get pumped 7-0 after teams? Because even when we were in the Champions League previously, it got to the stage where you weren't even looking forward to the games because you knew we were going to get absolutely hammered. So I think we get shown our level sometimes, and as much as I don't like to downplay us in that, you see Rangers doing well in Europe, it makes you question why Celtic can't just get out of that hurdle, as you said.
Callum, do you look at sides, and this is one of these, I'm tired of these arguments, but I think there is just so much truth to it and so much annoyance to it. You look at a side like Bodo and you look at the progress they've made in Europe and you're like, why can't it be us? Like, how can these teams do it with such little resources, with such little finances? How can they make a right good go of these things? And then there's us, do you ever just feel that? Do you ever get envious of that?
Definitely. I think it's seen you see when the way majority of teams are running Europe, they're run so far differently for us. We're still back at this 2004 stage. Mm-hmm. The rest of them, they're all up to date with the way they're running, even like their youth systems and such. I don't like, as Kieran touched on with Kieran Tierney, like, who is a sort of youth player we've again brought through that has stuck in consistently?
Well, these teams are constantly bringing through players that have got high resale value.
Aye.
Most of the time you're buying them in for other clubs and that, then selling them on. Obviously it's not a bad business thing, they're still making money, but it's just the point that I seen made, and people were analysing Bodo before we played them. People were saying they'd lost like 4 of their best players, but the way all these teams youth ranks and that are set up, they're playing the same style of football.
Yep.
They've got players ready to step in, and the system is so not flawless, but it's so refined and
nice,
well drilled.
Seamless.
Like anybody can step in and do it, and I think that's what Ange spoke about at Celtic. He wants to get a system in place where anybody can fill in, and the style of football remains the same. Levels don't drop, and that's when you see he's trying to build something at Celtic. But it's just how long is something like going to take? Because it's not an overnight fix. It's something that's going to, as much as we'd love it to be an overnight fix, it's not something that's going to happen that quickly. So I think it's something that needs to happen over the course of a few years, and it's just sad that we're probably still in the early stages of anything like that happening.
I would love Celtic to come out with something just sounding very technical and saying like, okay, we're going to sort this. And we're going to, like, you always hear, like, you hear big Lawrence Stroll doing it at Aston Martin just now, for example, but you hear this in sport all the time, like, we have a plan, like, here's our 4-year plan, and this is how we're going to get to,
Do you think that's what we're lacking at Celtic? Just forward thinking.
Forward thinking, yeah.
I feel like for
so
so many years we've not been thinking that far ahead. We've always been saying as long as we can get to the next season doing this.
Yeah.
There's been a lack of forward
that's it.
planning.
I really do. I think I've just cracked the code. No, but
Did you hear that, Celtic?
Hire me. No, but I think genuinely there's so much living in the moment of, like, and especially, and I think one aspect of it, as much as we might hate to admit it, I think one aspect of it is maybe the fact that we were in the league with the expectation of winning the title so easily every year probably didn't help us in the sense of, like, okay, we want to progress in Europe, but we were so fixated, I think, on going for those league titles.
That was the time to be building up a...
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were so fixated in winning those league titles, which wasn't a bad thing. I'd never change it for the world. But I think that there maybe was a point in time where we lost sight of something much bigger that we could have achieved.
See, I feel like that's the thing. It's like the point we sort of touched on earlier is, like, it shouldn't be an either or. Like,
yeah,
you should be able to go out and win the league and also do all right in Europe. It shouldn't need to be, but it's a bread and butter. Obviously, it's a bread and butter, but to build as a football club, you need to try and progress in Europe. Obviously, gone to the last 16 of the Europa League or the Conference again isn't better than a league title or a cup or anything, but it's still something you need to be doing.
And so many clubs across Europe have done it. So, you know, we're not odd one out in this situation.
It's not just if you're ready to. Yeah. It happens all over Europe. So it's just, what's the missing link here?
Well, we'll try and there's some food for thought. So have a think and let us know your opinions in the comments below. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit like, subscribe, Spotify, Apple, all the rest of it. You know what to do. Let's transition into the next segment of the show, and let's try and be a bit more positive amongst all the negatives. Today, as we record, is the 1 year anniversary of the sacking of one Neil Francis Lennon. It's been a year that has felt like an eternity, but also flew by at the same time. It's so weird to pin it down. I just want to start with a simple question. I'll go at you first, Callum. A year ago, me, Kieran and McGinley sat on a podcast and I burst a big fucking confetti cannon on my room. There's actually, no word of a lie, still bits of confetti that I find to this day. Like,
no clean your room.
No, listen. I do, but some just
still got the same bed sheets on it. Yeah, no.
Fuck off. But, you know, there's like bits of confetti I just find like behind the telly and stuff. I'm like, there's another bit of that confetti. But I set off that big fucking cannon in my room a year ago. And can you believe the transformation? At this time last year, we were so happy that he was gone, but I think the overwhelming chat was, how do we recover? Like, can you believe the transformation we've had in the last year?
No, I don't think. If somebody was to say to me like a year ago today, Celtic will be like, top of the league, 3 points clear. Eyes have been put at Europe again, but you're playing like this sort of attacking style of football. It's very sort of free flowing and it's exciting to watch. I'd have turned on like, get yourself to fuck, pal. I'm like, you're fucking at it.
You're fully it.
You're that fucking too long in the pub like a certain Neil Francis Lennon. But no, I just can't put it into words. It's just baffling to be honest with it. I just wouldn't have expected it.
And the fact that we've got a manager that I don't think any of us would have expected, that was the start of what was a plus 100 day journey. Remember, we couldn't get a manager. I mean, even after that, Callum, I mean, we didn't even know what to think about. I mean, that'll be another day, we'll come on to that, but at that time, that was the start of what was a really long and painful journey, and to come out from the end of that where we are now it's remarkable, to be quite honest.
Definitely. I mean, also when we had big 10-game Kennedy in charge again, it just felt as if it still felt as if it was the same stuff. It just Gingerhead wasn't there in the dugout. I sort of felt like I didn't feel as if there was any significant changes to it. But as you said, for us to go in, get a manager for a man that literally none of us would have known really anything about, didn't know that he would be here. It's just scary, I think.
Kieran, you were on that podcast that day. As a person, have you changed in that year?
Absolutely not.
That's the first question to ask you since you were on that show. Feels the only difference is we're not in the Zoom bubbles. We're actually in person. What a change that's been as well. But I mean, same with you. I mean, it's been a wild year in terms of being a Celtic supporter anyway.
I know. I mean, it's just you can't fault it. I mean, everyone is still. We're going to be.
Apart from faulting everything tonight.
I know, but I mean, like, if we take away the European failings, as I've said, as much as I said you need to have both, this season it very much was, the league was a priority. It obviously was, but you just didn't want to get embarrassed in Europe along the way. I don't think that's too much to ask, but so even domestically, but if you told me that at this point last year we were sitting 3 clear at the top, I wouldn't have believed you, because everyone has thought this was going to be years in the making. Like, we thought we were set so far back, and we were. Like, just because we've managed to turn this around, it's a testament to the job that Ange Postecoglou has done, because it shouldn't be forgotten the state that we were left in last season. You can say oh, it wasn't that bad because we're doing all right now. The job that he's came in and done this summer, even at the start of this season, it was starting to look like, right, this is going to be a long season.
Yeah.
And he's turned it on its head, and fair play to him, because the job that he's came in and done, the signings he's made, we had a massive overhaul of players. It's been a brilliant job for him, and hopefully he can keep it going. But I wouldn't have believed you at this point last year, but it's night and day. But as you said, that waiting period for a manager was absolutely brutal, man. I wonder how many podcasts we actually go in that time talking about Eddie Howe going Saudi.
Do you want to play a fun game? Well, we just to lighten up a little bit, right? So I think the game, if I've got my facts right in front of me, the game that pushed the decision over the edge was the defeat to Ross County at Dingwall. We lost 1-0 on the 21st of February, and then I think there was a couple of days of rumours, and remember it came out late at night, Lennon's getting sacked tomorrow. I was in work buzzing, I was dancing around the shop, and then it was officially announced the next morning. Do you want to go through you want to have a guess at what the starting 11 was in that game against Ross County, right? We'll go, so I'll let you can both take part. If you think you know the answer, you can give a shout. So who was in goals?
I mean, Bain.
Scott Bain was in goal. So there's first of all, right? Your back four.
Was Taylor starting at left back? Because he went half injured, and everybody was kicking up fuck because in the stands he was sitting like on his phone or something. Like,
oh, did it? I can't remember that.
Because obviously Len had his feet up and all that game, which was utterly baffling. But I'm pretty sure Taylor was in like on his phone, like in the wee box thing when he got injured or something.
Aye, Jock Stein would not have been happy. Remember that tweet about El Yunusi fucking being on his phone. So Taylor's right. He was at left back. Right back,
John Joe Kenny.
John Joe Kenny. Countless face says it all.
Wait, was Welsh one of the centre backs?
He was. Welsh was. And who joined Welsh that day?
Was that Duffy?
No, it wasn't Duffy that day.
Who else was playing centre back?
It wasn't Duffy.
Beaton?
No, it wasn't Beaton. It was one of the better players of last season. Christopher Ayer. Who joined Welsh. Your middle four. It was this was the game. This was the period of time. This is the diamond. We were playing the diamond.
This revolutionary diamond that was going to turn the season on its head. So it would have been what, Sorrow, Christie?
No. McGregor was the forward
Turnbull
of the Turnbull. Yes.
Brown.
So you said
Brown. Yes, of course, Brown.
And then who else?
Any guesses? Timofey Rogic. He was the four. That was the four in the middle. So Brown was of course still captain the side, and then two up front.
Lee Griffiths.
He came on in the game, didn't start.
Edward
was one, and you've already said his name.
Are you gonna say?
No. Ryan Christie.
Ryan
Christie played up front with Edward. So that was the team that day. And on the bench, just to read through, so what came on was Laxalt, Griffiths, and El Yunusi. They were the three players that came on. And your bench that afternoon was Lee Griffiths, Albin Ayeti, Patrick Klamala, Ismaila Sorrow, Mohamed El Yunusi, Ewan Henderson, Tony Ralston, Connor Hazard, and Diego Laxalt.
As I said before, the overhaul has been mental.
That was the team that day. I mean, just the diamond alone is just some fucking laugh.
It's when we got that wee string of results in December with the diamond. Beating Hamilton away now. I'm gonna do it, man.
Do you say I was actually watching Sky Sports today and they had Lenny on. They had them on talking about Liverpool and Leeds and all that, and I was like, why the fuck have we got Lennon on for this? He's like, Mo Salah, he's just, remarkable player. If I had him at Celtic last season, I've only been sacked. But that was the team that day. A year on, it's just unbelievable some of the changes. Here's a daft question for you both. Callum, have you got a favourite moment of last season that you want to bring up now?
Fuck. That's a podcast within itself again, as you would like to say.
The 2021 review. Because I know mine's personally is Lennon breathing in the air at Livy Lap.
That at Livy's a good shout. It's either that or fucking Big Shane Duffy smoke a snout here on the bow.
This season is just a meme, man.
just no real. It's a fever dream. Maybe you can fit a favourite moment.
Maybe Lennon's interview after he came back from Dubai.
Privilege. We followed all the rules. Superb. Honestly, what a season. So a nice wee transition there, just to bring you back some nightmares for your
if the night wasn't bad enough, man.
I know, you're lucky you're getting a day's fucking rest to digest everything. Okay, so the last couple of talking points before we get into all the normal segments. We have got Hibs at the weekend. We play them at Easter Road. That is a tough game, despite Hibs having what I would say a poor season for their standards. A tough game. Callum Kieran touching the point that there is probably an aspect of pressure on this now, because we played our cards, we showed that we're prioritising this game. This is now must win, I'd say, for Postecoglou.
Definitely. I mean, it was always must win beforehand, but I think, as obviously Kieran touched on, the fact of obviously resting the key players, not only does it put so much pressure on them, but so much pressure on Postecoglou himself to make it and set that team up and get that result. I think, as you said, Hibs obviously aren't having sort of the best of seasons. I think some of our players are a bit in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the not a limelight, that's in a good light.
The dark light.
We'll call it that. Obviously, certain centre halves that have made quite a bad name for themselves, but no, I mean, I think it's just. I'm generally lost for it. It's just the fact that it has to be a must win. It has to be the strongest 11, and there cannot be any Roderick and O'Reilly together.
You know, having that in the middle now?
Nah. I think we've seen it. Obviously, Kieran touched on it again earlier, but again, we've seen it for the last 2 games now, and it just doesn't work.
Kieran, I'll come to you. Easter Road, you know, remember we broke the hoodoo earlier on in the season. After I think it was a run that stretched back to 2014, if I remember off the top of my head, was the last time we won at Easter Road up until this season. Does that worry you that there is still that banana peel aspect in this sort of game? Do you think we're all over it?
It's always a tough place to go. I mean, one game doesn't mean it's over. You need to go and build on that, and I think we can do it, man. Like, you've got to bounce back after a result like that.
I mean, you hope it feeds them, don't you?
As Cam said, if and it goes on, and she's made the call to rest the players, it's got to pay off now, and I'm trusting he knows what he's doing. So as much as it was a bit of a strange one tonight, you need to hope, go out in the league, get the 3 points, back up the road, man. But that'll be a tough game, always is, Easter Road. I mean, I know we had a really good game there. It's wasn't it start the season, but like back in, what was it, October, November, something like that. I can't even mind what the score was, but it was a good. We did play well.
We did play well.
So we just need people to turn up. We've got players like Jota in that on top of the game. He's been a bit quiet in a couple of games, but I reckon he's hopefully got to
get a go on him.
We're in, as I said, we're in the business end of the season. It's time for people to properly step up now. No room for passengers in these games. We've got a tough run of games coming up. Sadly, next week we need to preview the nightmare that is Livy away.
Don't do it, man.
Talk about a banana peel, man.
You talk about tough runs and such. This is like the final run that, now that European football's out the way, I mean, we'll have a cup game in there somewhere, but this is sort of now the stretch to the split, because we've not got much interruptions, especially if we win that cup game. That's us in Hampden. So you take that wee cup game away, this is the final stretch to the split, and it starts now. But we've got to put Bodo behind us. We've got to put that disappointment out the road, and we've got to fucking full speed ahead, full focus, fucking get to the top of the league. Well, we already are.
We've got ourselves in a good position. We just need to keep up. We need to build on the performances that we've done to get there. Some of them haven't been pretty, but it's the sort of performances that you need to keep yourself top of the league. Like that one at the weekend against Dundee was massive. Late winner against Dundee United. There's about 4 or 5 results this season you can pick out like that that haven't been pretty, but we got the job done, and at the end of the season that's what you might look back on as the important games. So hopefully we can build on that. Hopefully it isn't a late snatch and grab sort of thing at Easter Road, but 3 points is all that matters. But I feel like you need to try and put some good performances together, especially after the disappointment of the night.
Callum, you touched on, obviously, and I'm not going to sit and go through, because I want to try and get this one close to an hour as possible this week. We'll try.
Shite, this is going on for an hour and 20, man.
We'll try. Callum, you said you don't want O'Reilly and Rogic in the same team, so if I was to ask you right now to pick a midfield three, what would it be tomorrow? Not tomorrow, it won't be tomorrow, it'll be Sunday, sorry.
McGregor, Hatate or O'Reilly.
That's your
I
free.
think Rogic, the last couple of games, he sort of dipped off his performances we were seeing.
Yep.
I think I'd like to see him sort of drop for a wee bit, get O'Reilly, get Hatate back in the team. Hopefully, like these couple of games he's had just like benched, so that gives him that sort of fire to go and go back to his first couple of performances we had, the likes of Tynecastle and such.
Nice. Kieran, would you?
I'd probably say that midfield three because of the game at Tynecastle, because that was a game that it's a similar sort of mould to like playing Hibs as well. So not just for the fact that for the same city, but aye, basically like that midfield three seems to work pretty well. As much as I like Rogic, I feel like he's a bit hard to miss now, but I feel like he's due to, like somebody's due to step up, man, in that midfield. So I'd like to see Hatate. I feel like been a bit quiet in the past couple of games. Been alright, nothing to fault really, but I feel like for setting the world alight against Rangers and at Tynecastle and that, I feel like he's due a good game, man.
Nice, okay. And then the rest of the team, I think, kind of picks itself what to see the best. And I think we know what the best is in every other sort of area of the pitch at the moment. I think it kind of maybe the conversation as to who starts in the front three along with Yakimakis. I think you can maybe say I would personally go.
Jota and Abada.
That's what I'd go with. That's what I was about to say. I'd go with that.
Has to be.
Right. Okay, that's the Hibs chat sort of done. There might be a match preview tomorrow, a live Q&A sort of thing, if we want to go through some of that. The last talking point, very quickly, Bolingoli is away. He's left Celtic and he's headed to
Eastern Front.
Russia of all places. Not to get political, and we don't want to put a dampener on anybody's evening, but I couldn't have picked a worse place to go at the moment. Well, maybe Ukraine, but but not to laugh. It's a very serious situation. It's a very serious situation. But
That was like the Frank Lampard meme there.
just living Frank Lampard meme there. But he is away. Answers a lot of the questions we had about what his position was at the club, and quite clearly, it was no position at the club. He is gone. Any last words for Bolingoli?
His only crime was being home.
God bless him, man. God bless him. I don't blame him. If I knew it was coming that season, I would done the same thing.
The exact same thing.
Well, what flight to Spain?
For any particular reason.
Well, just a holiday to Spain. It's nothing else. But aye, that's that. That's everything covered on today's show. It's now time to go through the Twitter questions, and Callum will be hosting the quiz this week. What quiz host are you going for?
I don't know, you always steal all the good ones. Fuck knows.
You can
Jake Humphries. He seems like a nice
Jake
man.
Humphries,
Warwick
alright.
Davis.
That's McGinley. I hope he's watching it. Oh, I'm so sorry, McGinley. I'm so sorry, mate. I'm sorry. It's just oh, man. That was good. Oh, if I say so myself. Right.
He's going to have a bounty pick with you next time he's on here, man.
I wonder if he'll make it this far. Hopefully somebody like tags him or something. I don't know.
Getting clipped anyway.
Getting clipped, aye. Right, so I put up a tweet. Not sure I would say the dust has settled per se. However, we're back in the studio and it's time for your questions. So the first question is from Adam, who says, which squad member would jump into the Norwegian Sea balls naked for a laugh?
Yakimakis.
Yakimakis.
Aye.
Certainly no Joe Hartman. That Jay.
See,
That
off
Jay
the top, the first name that came to my head is Starfield, but then again, he's got gloves on every week. Like, I don't think it would be him. So
He just does Nike tons.
well, maybe it's like
it's always
Uncle
sunny.
Jack. These are my hands. These are real hands. Have you got any pick there, Kieran?
Don't know, man. Me Kyogo, man.
I'm gonna go for Tony Ralston. That's my pick. Can see him doing that. Okay, Sideshow Bob, friend of the show, he's always in these comments. The performances of Taylor and Scales over the last couple of games have showed me we really need a new left back. Who would you go for? Hopefully we can kick on and win the league tonight. Shows how far we still need to go as a team. Just remember where we were in the summer, lads. Obviously we touched on that the 1 year on from Lennon. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's that same thing you always bring up with most scouts. It's hard to pick.
With the markets we show up in, like, unless you're one of these Celtic Twitter ones that proper delve into and you're right into looking into all these players and getting raging when we don't get them because they moved to like France or something like that mid one that played for Bodo.
Patrick Berg.
Aye. So I don't know. Like it really, with Celtic scouting and the places we shop for players, if I want to go for the sort of project signing, you really don't know who we're going to get, because it's not like a few years ago when we were looking at Greg Taylor, somebody in the league thinking, oh, he could definitely step up to Celtic, but you generally don't have a clue when it comes to Celtic's transfers who we're going to get, because all these players we get, never heard of them in their life, but then they come in and like Juranovic, like even Starfelt, like you've not heard of any of these players before, and they come in and people take to them. So
if it was just unlimited money scenario, but keeping it a realistic, a player who'd want to join Celtic, I just wish we could have got Hickey, but that's just never going to happen now.
Nah,
I would have loved to have got Aaron
his
Hickey.
value skyrocketed.
Yeah, he's a really good wee player. Calman, same as Kieran, it is hard, isn't it?
I think the only one I could sort of try and think realistic off the top of my head, maybe Josh Doig.
Yeah.
He's the other one that comes to me. But
So
I feel like
Quite
Stock's kind of fallen
Quite a
this
season, innit?
No, see what I was going to bring up. Do you remember the Aaron Hickey interview, and he's peeling out his hair, like, talking about maybe.
Personally, I rate it, to be quite honest. I thought it was quite.
You're just
cool.
jealous of his hair, man.
What's that mean?
What do you expect to mean?
Not funny. Cool. You're about to turn me to golf, mate. I'm going to turn it on the next podcast. Like, yeah. So,
Getting a toupee, aye.
fuck off. It's not funny. It's not funny. Right, sorry. You staring at him, man.
The lights know your friend, man.
I didn't realise that they were digital.
Aye.
Because on my laptop's the actual
Aye,
one. I realised
aye,
they're halfway
aye,
through and you're sitting just pressing it up.
Wee screening on it, aye. What Celtic player, Shea Orr asks, what Celtic player is most likely to say about Putin?
Former Celtic player Marian Shved.
Give him a good go. I don't know right now who'd give him a good setting about. That's a hard one. I feel we need a designated heart. Once again, Ralston maybe. Need a designated hard man in this
it would
team.
have to be Ralston.
I don't feel we've replaced Brown yet as a hard man, you know. We need somebody.
People think when from Dundee and they say, ooh, hard man.
When players were men. That's what we need. Let's see, how much sugars do you take in your tea? I take sweeteners. Alfie.
Two.
Two sugars. Two sugars basic.
What do you want me to put 4?
Diabetes.
Christ.
We've touched on a couple of these. Are the Andy going to win the Scottish Cup? I don't know. Maybe they will. I mean, we're all Andy boys. We were there. We're back in the team.
But just say I get first round or something.
Did any I don't think you did, Kieran. Did you play for the Andy team?
Maybe Shane didn't play for the team. What are you trying to say?
I've been pals with you for a long time. I know for a fact you were in that team. I wasn't sure about you. I know you were pals for a long time as well, but I just wasn't sure if you were in or not. I was never good enough to make the cut. I was also weird. So I wasn't good
at that dressing room.
Oh, jeez. It's bad enough just staying football and PE, never mind anything else. Is this the worst European defeat in the past decade? Now, if you make it main games only, is it up? Because obviously there's Lincoln Red Imps, for example, which is just.
It's in the knockouts, I think it amplifies it as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at it, Red Imps is obviously the worst one, but I don't know, there's an argument to be made for it, but this is what I said, it's just always when we go into these games when we're the favourites on paper, it never works out for us, man.
Aye.
It doesn't work out when we're the underdogs either, to be fair, but
Aye. There's nothing that comes to my mind as it could be
I'm
worse.
probably forgetting stuff here, but
I mean,
that I've
the
made
double,
sure I
the
forgot.
double 4-1s to Prague, maybe.
That was pretty bad, aye.
That was pretty
That was a
poor.
shout.
But it's up there. Right now, there was a good question that I need to get in. I absolutely loved it. This is a brilliant question. I thought, right, Cal, who's always in the replies as well, obviously. Cal, he's asked, if you could add one thing to the menu at Celtic Park, what would it be? Now, booze isn't allowed. No booze. One thing, and you're like, oh. Add one thing to the menu at Celtic Park, what would it be?
A European knockout win.
But food-wise, I mean, my answer's pretty... currywurst and fries. That would be me. Well, we've already got fries, so you don't need to add that.
Let me tell you something.
What?
um,
Currywurst for me would be easily.
that's actually a good question.
Did you see some of these scrans, like that footy scran or whatever in Twitter, and some of them
I
look
know,
fucking
that's what
unreal.
Aye.
Fuck.
Oh, they spicy noodles for Tesco.
Imagine them sitting up to make them up for everybody.
I'm sitting in the back like, no, that's too much water.
Drain that.
If you've had to drink water, you've not done it right.
Is that what you'd pick, aye?
Nah. I'll bring a packet ways. I'll give you £4. £4.50 if you make them.
Deal. Callum, you got a pick?
No, I can't even think.
Hot dogs. Oh, no, there.
There's a
I never take a hot dog.
I wouldn't even sit and eat them at the football, but it's just because I like nachos.
Nachos.
I like nachos.
nachos.
It's pure American, but at the same time I
Walking
like
up the
it.
stairs and
Aye.
nacho man. Brilliant. I like that. That's some question. I
That's
really
a good
like that. It got
question.
me thinking. I was like, because that Footy Scrans page is just the best page on Twitter. It gets me. Oh, I love it, man. It's just
I
superb.
think it's the no booze part that does that one good as well.
I mean,
So
I think
with Oyster was
Aye, but what beer would you want them to have at Celtic Park? Draft beer. What one would you want?
A pint of Peroni, but only if it comes in a nice looking
They're
glass.
going to give you the glass, I'm sure.
I promise I wouldn't do it, mate. Except take it home. What a beautiful glass.
That's a nice glass.
What is your favourite pint glass?
Let us know your favourite pint
What would
glasses.
you say your favourite pint glasses are?
Good question. Now, I'm not a big fan of the beer itself. I know Callum is, but I really do like the Stella glass. I think it's a nice glass.
See, what was the other one I was going to say there? See, a pint of it's awful, but the Corona glass is just...
Oh, that's
That's
nice.
so
It's
nice.
like the
Sublime
bottle
looking.
without the neck.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
It's just sublime looking.
Callum, you're a man of great taste when it comes to pints.
I don't know, I like the wee Star Pramin glasses with the wee
Aye,
handle. I
they're
like
nice,
them. I
aye.
don't like the big tall glasses, but
With a handle on that.
Aye.
I like that as well.
but I think Peroni's glass. Everything about Peroni's just perfect.
Just so tall and slender and sleek.
Beautiful. Aye, that's a nice. I want a pint now, man. Fuck yous. Fine.
Vanilla.
It goes. It does tend to go flat quite quickly, but never get time to go flat.
Can we just say for
Just
everybody,
encourages you to keep going quicker.
everybody under the age of 18, we do not condone underage drinking. Thank you. Right, let's see what's. There's a couple that we'll try and get through a couple more so we can get onto the quiz. A lot of questions about the current conflicts in Eastern Europe, which I wish my best for everybody affected. It's a real shame. Would you rather Celtic win the Champions League or your country win the World Cup? Easy, Celtic win the Champions League. I'm sure we're all in agreement for that.
Aye.
Club over country.
Fuck the World Cup. Is James Forrest a terrorist? Asked Tommy.
Now I've seen the reaction you got when you said it.
Mine's a bit Martindale, to be fair.
James Forrest is just continues to be one of the most frustrating players in the last however long at Celtic.
Aye.
It's just, I don't know, he's lost his turn of pace now, it seems.
I mean, Callum, you don't really need to say much when it comes to James, do you?
Nah, I think him that knows me knows I've never been his biggest fan. So, fuck him.
And that does it for the questions. Thank you once again, everybody who got involved. If your question wasn't asked, we will try and attend to all of your questions over the period of whatever we do these podcasts. We do appreciate it. If you want to get involved, make sure to head over to the Twitter page at Sellik Podcast. That's SELLIK. And you can get involved with the show. Right then. So it brings us on to the final segment, which if I can get the button working.
Oh, I can hear it.
It's weird hearing it.
Hear it this week, yeah. There you go. I mean, it seems to just not work right at all when I put it back in editing. It's just like blares and it doesn't dim when I dim it. I don't know what's happening with this, but we'll get it one week. It is time for the quiz. And I'll get up the quiz league table right now. Callum, you've played the most games. You finally got off the mark last week. Well, your first win, you've played 4, won 1, lost 3. You're still at the bottom, but it's good to get off the mark, isn't it?
It is. I mean, still above Mackenzie, so fuck him.
I think there's people watching this. Like, who's McKenzie?
I know.
Here's Mackenzie. There's some new viewers along the way. Maybe one day he'll have a grand return. He's got a cat to look after, and
That's the worst excuse I've ever heard.
and he's obviously birded now. He's under the thumb. He's just he's just too busy. But we'll hopefully get him back one day just for a piss up or something. Kieran, you're not doing much better at the minute, son, because you've played 3 and you've only won 1 as well.
See, last week was a close one, but
That was a good quiz last week. It was good. So you're second from the bottom. Then I've played 3, won 2, and lost 1. McGinley is currently still undefeated, but he has only played 2. So he's on 2 wins and 0 losses, which means he is currently top because he has an immaculate record. So this week, to make it 4 games between 3 of us, it is going to be me against Kieran Auld. You looking forward to this? Battle of the brains,
Aye, if you want.
Right, Callum, get your quiz out. Let's get this done. This is your man. Who did you pick again? Jake Humphries.
Aye.
Jake,
He just seems like a nice man.
yeah, Jake Humphries. And there you go.
Nah, he's got a dark side.
What makes you say that?
Nobody's that nice.
Oh, that's
Everybody says that with being Golo Canton. What have you done?
stuck my finger in this. Yeah,
You alright?
bastard. Oh, yeah, fucker, that was so. There we go.
Everybody
Apologies.
says that in Golo Canton.
Oh,
Just a
wait!
evil bastard.
We'll come to it. Right, okay. Kieran from the Brig Bus, big fan of the show, of course, and a good friend of ours, lovely guy. He's actually sent in a wee segment that I might start bringing in every show, but I'll wait till after the quiz. It'll be dead quick anyway. But, aye, Callum, take it away with this week's quiz. You can decide who's going first or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't know. Kieran, you want first? Set A or set B?
Set B.
Set B.
Okay, I'm first then.
Yeah, first Ryan.
Right.
First question is: this season is Bodo Glimt's first time ever in a European competition. True or false?
Wow. Now, does this include qualifiers or just main competition, like main stages,
I
group
did not make
stages?
this quiz.
Right, okay. See, I feel like they've maybe made like qualifiers and such before, and I'm going to take that into account, so I'm going to say false.
Correct.
See?
Moving out yourself, Kieran, to equalise. Starting lineup against Bodo Glimt was the first time Ralston, Scales, Welsh, Hart, and Beaton have all started at the same time. True or false?
So I'm thinking back to the start of the season when it was still pure. I'll go true.
False. The same team that featured against Rafe Rovers.
Christ.
Yeah.
So Ryan, to go 2-0 up, your question
on.
is: what insect is the Bodo Glimt mascot?
It was a fucking wasp, wasn't he?
I've got B down. Yeah. I'm not going to give you it. Did you not see the video on Twitter?
I did. But I thought it was a fucking wasp. Oh, what, man?
Know your insects, wee man.
Fuck
See if
off,
I get an insect question.
Kieran, so to also bring ourselves back into it, which Celtic player is out on loan with their weekend opponents Hibs?
Ewan Henderson.
Correct. And I'm going to throw it back to yourself, Ryan. 2-1 lead.
Nice.
Celtic have won the last how many games in a row against Hibs in all competitions?
Oh, it's one, surely.
3.
Wait, what?
Wait, read the question again.
Celtic have won the last how many games in a row against Hibs in all competitions?
Oh shit, we played them in the cup final on that as well. Oh, you bastard.
Aye.
Shit, I just jumped
You're thinking Easter Road.
two-footed into that. Two-footed into that
Right,
bastard.
so this one was I could give.
Oh my god.
Fuck's easy question.
I forgot we played them at Celtic Park as well. What a stupid dick.
So Kieran, the one I'm going to throw across to yourself was one of the ones also we've had to replace.
Aye.
And it was since 2001-2 season, 4 Celtic players have scored a brace in a Scottish Cup final. Can you name them?
Odson Edward.
Yep.
Gary Hooper.
Yep.
Henrik Larsson.
Yes.
And then one more. Oh shit. I'm trying to go back through the cup finals in my head. Oh, you bastard. Right, so who have I said? I said Edward, Hooper, Larsson, and then a brace, you bastard. Oh, what? I'm definitely missing something pure obvious here, isn't I? That's just a hard one that I'm...
No, it's and times one of the 3 that you said. And the same team and such.
Oh, I fucking hate my life, man. Trying. Oh, fuck this. Fucked it with my life, man. I'm going to just throw a name out. Chris Commons.
Anthony Stokes.
Same era as well. Same era. Unlucky. Unlucky.
So I wasn't sure if I
Worth
could have
it.
given you a hint and
Can't
said
remember.
the same era super.
I wasn't even in my head at all, man.
Right, okay, I need this.
Right, that's fine. So throwing it back to yourself, Ryan. What position are the weekend's opponents Hibs currently sitting at?
I've not looked at the league table in a wee while. Did they fall out of the top half? That's the question. And I want to say 6th or 7th, but I'm unsure if they fell out the top half or not. I'll go 7th.
Fourth.
Oh, fucking hell.
Fourth, fourth,
Ah,
aye.
fuck me. I
Drawn
thought
on
I thought
point
done
with
that. Oh my
Dundee
god.
United and Motherwell.
This is a honker for me. This is just disgustingly bad.
So throwing it back across to yourself, Kieran. How many teams from Northern Norway have played in the top flight of Norwegian football in their history?
Wait, so how many?
How many teams from Northern Norway have played in the top flight of Norwegian football in their history?
4.
3.
I actually had 3.
Right, so that's the one that I'm going to have to change.
Is this my
over
final
again.
question?
Yes.
Oh my
What's the
god.
score?
So 1-8 still?
1-8 still.
Oh fucking hell.
For the dizzying heights of last week.
Oh god.
So that's the one also I've had to change, Ryan, because you'd already sent us across.
Ryan tried to put a couple of questions in.
Aye,
that
so
he
I
knew
put,
the answers
I
to.
put a couple of questions in and sent it to Matthew, and then realised that I was
In fact, taking part.
playing in the quiz. Aye. So thanks, Matthew. Anyway,
So this is the one that I thought I said to you in the car before. This would be a bit of a curveball. Which year was the under-soil heating installed at Celtic Park? So initially I was going to use this as a tiebreaker when I
This-
first read it
this
up and
can-
say the closest year.
aye, this can literally be any year in the past like 20 fucking years, maybe even 30. I don't know when under soil heating became the in thing. I don't know. 2006.
Oh, Jesus, you couldn't be 1985.
Oh my god.
1985. Right, Kieran, you could steal it with this last question.
He's gonna get something.
Take us
Like,
out for
he's gonna
2-1.
get something like which manager led Celtic to a double treble.
Norwegian ex-Celt Leo Hilde, I don't know how to pronounce his name, made his Premier League debut against which side?
I was
West Ham.
He is correct. Your winner this week
He
is
made his
Kieran.
actual debut in the FA Cup against West Ham, then he made his Premier League debut against
The very
West
same.
Ham.
I've also just gone off what I did. So West Ham 3-2 win. Right, that's a defeat. How you feeling?
You should know you're under soil heating me, man.
That's just a piss take, man. Like, it's the bee that's fucked me there. Like, I'm never watching the bee movie again, man. Honestly. Name me a bee movie.
Was
fan
it a
fiction.
tiebreaker question?
Was it a
Yeah,
tiebreaker?
there was, yes. The tiebreaker question was how many miles are between Aspmyra Stadion and Celtic Park?
Don't know.
See, Norway is massive, man.
2,341.
2,342.
He's closer. 2,220.
What I hear, by the way,
That's not so
why is that a
bad.
bad guess, by the way?
Very good
I saw
guess.
that fucking Worldo that's coming into use there. The cool man's Worldo. Aye, so that's pretty much the end of the show. However, there is something cool that Kieran says that if it goes down well, he might actually send it into us every week. And I might start putting it like the halfway point of the show to like break it up. But big shout to Kieran. I've not even answered his last message. Kieran, I didn't mean to patch you, mate. I was just in the way driving here after you sent it, so my bad. If you are listening, I appreciate you, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing you for that game against Livingston. But so he sent me. So you know how you see the things sometimes. It's like in magazines. It's like guess what player this is by their career, and it's like the club they started that. Blah 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 blah. So he's going to send us in. Well, he has this week. I don't know if he'll bother his jacks any other week, but he's sending in this week a wee path, and we'll try and do it very very quickly. And I'm going to give you two players, right? So 2 players. The first one I'm going to give to Callum Craig, and it goes. And to give you a clue, I'll give you the sort of time they played for the club as well, because it could be fucking anybody. So Wolves to Celtic to Cardiff City, and that was a player who played for us in the time region of Gordon Strachan. Wolves to Celtic to Cardiff City.
I cannot think for the life of me.
If you want to just throw a guess, throw a guess. It's good. I hear the keyboard's gone in the comments. It could potentially
I know I'll be getting abuse in the comments for this or no on it, but my head's generally drawn all blanks.
go on through it, I guess.
I can
Okay, I'll narrow it down. Defender.
Fuck, could be Andy. Lee Naylor.
Correct.
Is it? I'm just trying
It's
English.
Lee Naylor. There you go. Lee Naylor is the correct answer. Well done, Cam. And Kieran, to finish us off, from Dunfermline Athletic to Celtic to Wolves. So left Celtic for Wolves. Came from us from Dunfermline. He joined, I think, sometime in the late 90s, and he played for us till maybe 2004-ish, 5-ish. So he was there for Martin O'Neill in the kind of late 90s era. Joined us from Dunfermline.
Jackie McNamara.
Yes, I gave you the clue there, didn't I?
I was actually thinking him before, but I didn't
Aye.
want to pure blot it.
There you go,
It
Jackie
was more when you said
McNamara.
how long he played for us.
Aye, so there you go. Jackie McNamara was the answer there. So I like that. It was a bit of fun. I like
It's a
that.
wee
quite
midway
good,
segment.
Aye, wee midway
You could do that
segment.
in between choosing your, like, whoever's getting the Twitter questions up.
Aye,
So
yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. So there you go. Let us know if you got them in the comments below. And that's it. That does us. We've managed to round it at 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's actually not too bad.
Wow, not bad. So yeah, if you have enjoyed, please make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It is much appreciated, and give us a review. We need to start pushing this as much as I can, and on Twitter as well. But give us a review on Spotify and Apple. Give us 5 stars if you want to give us 5 stars. But the higher the rating, the more recommendations will be for people. So yeah, that'd be appreciated. Callum, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Any last words?
Nah,
Considering there's a real chance this could be the last podcast we ever film.
Fuck Rangers.
Kieran, any last words?
Know your insects, wee man.
Go to everybody listening, young aspiring podcasters, make sure you know your fucking insects for podcast quizzes. I've been Ryan, thank you. And yeah, we'll see you next time.